shears cut hair perfectly. So why is she complaining? Let's find out why. I'm Bonnie Megowan. I do a lot of videos on shear sharpening, and a lot of the videos I get are from sharpeners. And this was sent to me by a sharpener who didn't attempt it. He didn't do anything to it. My sharpener says, the lady that owns a shear says, shear has not cut since the last 2 sharpeners attempted to sharpen it. Now, my advice, if someone tells you the last 2 sharpeners worked on these shears and I'm still not happy, this is a walk-away shear. But here it is. Let me finish the letter. She says it was folding hair, and what cutting it did was irregular and not crisp. With that said, I'm sending along as a suspect alignment issue. Since I don't hammer or bend, I didn't invest any time with it. It cuts dry but not wet. Please see what you can do. So, I don't think it's an alignment issue. Might be a little bit. What I'm looking at is the ride line. What I do see are little teeny nicks in here. And I'm also kind of suspecting that the last sharpeners didn't put it at a real sharp angle. So I'm just going to sharpen it regular, just like I normally would sharpen it. Not going to do anything heroic, and see what it cuts like. So just for giggles, I'm going to cut some wet tissue. And I don't know if I mentioned, because I've been interrupted a few times today, Mystie's been out sick. She's my office manager and runs things around here. And so it's just been Jean and me doing things today. Answering the phones, getting out of orders, and now I've got this shear to sharpen. This is wet. Wet, really cheap toilet tissue, the kind I can see through. And I'm pulling my thumb out, and you see it's not cutting wet. Now it'll cut dry, well, not super well. It'll cut dry, but not super well, but it's not cutting wet. What this tells me is that there are still nicks and maybe burrs left behind. It doesn't tell me if it's sharp. I can only tell that when I go in and I start sharpening it and see what the angle is on it. So let's put this together and sharpen it together. And welcome to my channel if you're new. If you're interested in sharpening, that's what I do. I rhymed that. I didn't mean to rhyme it. But I do teach sharpening, and I enjoy teaching sharpening. I enjoy shooting these videos, so I hope you like it. Let me know if you do. And let me know if you have things you want to see or questions. So let's get into sharpening these. So for the fun of it, I thought today I would sharpen on our Scimech Junior. We have 2 different machines that we sell and that I sharpen on. The Scimech Junior, which is our newest one. We've had it for close to a year now. It's lighter weight. You really need to stand up to sharpen with this. It's harder to sit down, or at least if you sit down, you get more of this dust. You see this flying at your face, which you rather let it come to your belly, not in your face. I'm tempted to use a finer stone. This is a 2000 grits, and she seems to be a little picky, but I think the 2000 grit stone will be okay. I need a UFO tool to take this apart, and I'll clean up this shear, and we'll see how nice and quickly we can knock this out. I think this sharpener, if he had just sharpened it like he normally does, he would have made the lady happy. But anytime they tell you 2 sharpeners have tried and can't get it right, unless you're in an area that's got some problem sharpeners, or they've put them together wrong. Everything looks correct. It's got all the parts there. I'm going to clean these up with a little alcohol. And I'm going to do the rod line first. Why do I do the rod line first? Most of the factories I dealt with, that's the way they did it, number 1. Number 2, I find if you do the rod line first and then go back and finish and polish, go back and forth the way I do, I'm less apt to have a burr left behind. But with that being said, there's different ways to do it. I'm not the only person in the world that trains sharpeners. There's a lot of good instructors out there. But I doubt if anybody enjoys training any more than I do. I really enjoy teaching sharpening. That's one reason I shoot all these videos, because if no one's here, I can still teach. So what I'm working on is my rod line, and that looks nice. I'm not seeing any of those nicks now. It's a nice, clean, shiny line. And this is 2,000 grit. I do have a 6,000, 8,000. I had them up to 15,000. I'm not sure if you need a really fine, it looks a little suspect right here. It might have a little bit of an alignment issue. But I don't really want to fix it because these are expensive shears, and if they break, yeah, it does have, can you see how the rod line is a little bit wider here and narrower there? So it's a little bit of that, but basically if you've got a flat rod line, even if it's kind of wide and narrow, it still should work. So I have a worn, maybe it's too well worn. Let's see how well it works. I have a worn 800 grit, and I'm going to set my clamp at a 45-degree angle. Now this shear might be able to go up to 50. I just want to kind of find out what's on there right now. Move my wing nut back. I tighten this down. And I don't have a lot of videos using my Scimech Junior, so let me back this up a little bit so you can see how I'm setting the clamp. I'm setting this at 45. That line's there at 45. I want to move this shoulder bolt first so that it's touching that screw. And I know it's touching when it moves it. And then I'm going to tighten my wing nut down. So I won't go beyond that. And it's always good to start with the back blade first. This is the back blade. Now I'm pretty good with my hands, so I can usually put it in the clamp without a lot of faddly. But if you have problems with it, you can put this in this hole here, and that holds it for you. But to me, that takes a little bit extra time. Now, I angle it down in my clamp a little bit, so there's about a 15-degree angle probably there. I just leave it on all the time. I leave it going to the right. It'll say right or left. I leave it going to the right. And I'm just going to touch it down. Let's see if I'm near the edge. Yeah, I don't think he was at 45 because I still see red right along the edge. So these will take a 50 degrees. Let's go ahead and pop them up to 50. Since she seems picky. So nicks were left behind, and I think they just weren't done at a sharp enough angle. Probably they were free-handed in the past. Since I'm changing the angle, I'm going to start with a 400. I think that's a fresh 400. So that might be pretty aggressive. Hope it's not too aggressive, but we'll find out. And then I'm not landing flat. I'm coming about right here and rolling to the edge. Now I'm not pulling out. I'm rolling to the edge. And I might want to stay at the edge a little bit. No, I'm not nowhere near the edge. Even at the 400 grit, I'm going faster. That's the problem. Did them at too blunt of an angle. Now I'm pulling it out because I'm not sure if I'm getting that tip. And I'm doing a little bit of rock, but I'm staying at the edge mostly. No, I still don't have anywhere near the edge. This is pretty aggressive. I might have to go to something more aggressive than that. It's the end of the day. It's Friday. It's Memorial Day weekend. Let's get the show on the road. This is 100 micron. This is the coarsest thing I've got. And I'm not even going to try to rock it. I'm just going to try to get it to the edge. And it's a flat plate at that. So I'm creating a little bit of a bevel. Still not there. This is when you do a reality check. Am I really at 50 degrees? Yes, I'm at 50 degrees. These are harder steel, so that may be what's taking longer. I suspect the last sharpener was a freehand sharpener, and it's hard to tell what angle you're at when you're freehanding. I'm a firm believer in using a clamp. Okay, I can see against this black background, the burr coming up right here. I don't have a burr back there. Ooh, I don't like the way that's looking. If you have trouble getting back here, maybe less of a tilt in your clamp. I would not have done this in the early days without this kind of confidence. Just so it doesn't overheat. Okay, there's a little teeny tiny burr. Maybe by the time I go to the 400 and go down to the other grits, I'll have it. I'm going pretty fast. I'm not going full speed, but I am going pretty fast. I'm not so much worrying about having my staying at the edge, at the tip, because I know I've got a burr. It is wimpy in the back and doesn't look convexy at the tip. That looks kind of suspect right up there too. All right, I'm going down to my worn 800, which is really like a polishing pad. I do have a 1200. Maybe that's what I want to use. And you see, I probably need to replace my plates. I've got the leftover stuff. And I'm rocking further back this time because I'm more trying to shape it. Looks kind of wonky right there. I usually don't do this, but I'm going to go and remove my burr and then come back to this. And I should have had this covered over so this grit's not falling on here. So let me wipe it off. Put this on top of it. Here we go. Seeing a burr popping up at that tip. I don't like the way that tip looks. Wonder if they overheated that tip. I don't know if you can see that in the light. See how that looks sort of like I'm not at the edge there? Don't like the way it looks. Looking worse. This may be a problem with remember I told you about this split in my plate? That may be what the problem is. Good lesson. Let's see if this fixes it. And then I'll toss that one. Oh yeah, sounds better. You hear the difference in the sound? That's what the problem was. Well, I'm going to call that good enough. Let's try this other one. We know we have to start pretty aggressive. Get our burr. You can always learn off the first blade. That's why I suggest you do the back blade first. And we know it took longer to get the burr back here, so I'm not really putting more pressure here, but I'm just making this sure that comes in contact. Beginning to burr up here, not back there. Got to burr all the way down, but I'm still seeing that tip do that weird thing, so That may not be something I did on that plate. So I'm just going to use this cushion plate. Oh, this is the flat plate. Ah, Friday too late in the day. Friday too late in the day. This was the 1200 grit. I'm going to pull that one off and put a 400 on. This little machine will do a good job sharpening. I do prefer the HD because I like to sit down to sharpen, and I really should not sit down to sharpen on this one, even though I do sometimes, because it's not good for my lungs. Let's see what this is looking like. Still got that weird spot right there. Same spot. I don't have a burr right there. Do not have a burr right there. Wonder if someone cut something with it there, or she seems to think it was a sharpener. And the last sharpener may not have been willing to do the work it takes to fix this. It's going down to the 1200. Long sigh. Sometimes some shears just take longer than others, and this is one of them. I was hoping this would be a quick sharpening, but when you have to change the angle and you have to go behind other sharpeners, maybe two other sharpeners that didn't do it right. I suspect maybe the first one did it wrong and the second one was just not courageous enough, or maybe experienced enough. I say that, but I haven't finished these, so we don't know how they're going to turn out yet, do we? So I've created a burr, I removed a burr. Now I'm going to polish. There's my nasty polishing pad. I have some polishing paste, and this is diamond spray I'm going to put on it. Put a little bit extra. And then I adjust my clamp. So I'm at 50. I'm going to move it up to maybe about 50, 52, 53. Because it sounds like she's not so much concerned with these pushing. She's concerned with them not being smooth and being crunchy. So I hope these look good. Might be able to get better shine. That's what always worries me when I have to go to something so aggressive. It's hard to get that polish in there and get all the scratches out. But I think they're going to look all right. I'm going to think positive that these are going to come out fine without any bending or hammering or anything more than just being a little bit more aggressive in the edge work. And I'm polishing a little bit longer than I normally would, just because I think this customer may be a fairly picky customer. But she has a right to be. These are nice shears. She paid a lot for them. I'm wiping the polish off, wiping off any of the last residue of my marker. I'm double checking to make sure I haven't removed the ride line. I was doing a refresher with a sharpener. That's kind of getting some age on him. He was in here the other day. And that was the problem. He was very aggressive in creating a big burr, but he removed the ride line when he did. Move this out of the way. Let's put these back together. Put a little bit of oil on it. Washer goes on the peg. The peg, square peg, goes in the round hole. Hold it with that finger. This one goes on top until it clicks into place. This is called internal clicker plate, and it has a nipple that sticks up. That goes next. Then my nut. Get it started with my fingers. And then I'll grab my UFO tool and find which one is the right ones for this nut. We call these UFO tools, and because we call these UFO screws. It was a gentleman that used to work for me that started calling them that when they first came out. And it just stuck, and I think a lot of people call these UFO tools and UFO screws. Okay, so I have it where it feels about the right tightness. I don't know, I haven't adjusted yet. But I'm going to do the first cut. I might do it on double tissue, just in case there's any burr left. Yeah, I hear it crunching. So there must have been some burr there. Now I'm going to adjust it better. Yeah, they've got an alignment issue. But let's see if they cut wet tissue. Remember, it didn't cut wet tissue before? They're not cutting wet tissue now. Let's pull out our magic nail buffer. Those teeny tiny nicks are gone. They're definitely quieter than they were. Oh, well, it must have been something there. Just so you know, there's no trick to it. Fresh tissue. Good and wet. Let's see if this adjustment's right. I think I'm going to do it one click tighter. Thumb out. Thumb out. Can you see that? Oops. My hand's got oil on it. It's kind of greasy. Feel a little scratchiness at the tip. Let me round off the tip. Now they cut hair before, but I could feel crunch and it seemed noisy. Let's see how it sounds now. I'm not totally pleased. Well, they cut wet tissue, they cut hair, they're quieter. I'm not totally pleased. I think they still have an alignment issue, but it's not that bad. I'm going to take a risk on it. I'm going to let you look at this ride line and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you see what I'm talking about? Do you see how that ride line changes as we go along there? I'm going to send these back, and I'm waiting to hear back from the customer, and both the sharpener and the customer, and I'm hoping that takes care of the issue. And sometimes you got to be a little aggressive if you need to change an angle and take it back to something sharp, but don't do it unless you're really sure and you have the experience and you know the shears, because not every shear will take that sharper angle. But I think she'll be happier with this 50-degree angle. I think it was probably a 40-degree on there before, so we've gone up 10 degrees. I think she should be able to, if she's a competent hairstylist like it sounds like, she should be able to hear the difference and feel the difference in the way they cut. So once again, I think I've saved a pair of shears, and if someone says the last 2-3 sharpeners, nobody could get them right, see what you can do? Those might be walk-away shears. If you like to see me sharpen some walk-away shears, here's some videos I think you'll enjoy. And also want to remind you about our Sharpeners Jam. Make sure that you come, sign up. It's online and in person. No reason not to be here.